coming up on Mic'd Up.
They had under 100 million when I started there, and I grew my little team with the president and me to 12 billion. And every year I went into the office and I said, I want to make partner, and every year they said no.
Welcome to Mic'd Up. I'm your host, Mike DiCiocio. I'm bringing you inspiring stories and insights from entrepreneurs, award-winning authors, thought leaders, business and mindset coaches, peak performers, entertainers, and other talented individuals who are excited to provide you with the ammo needed to level up and achieve your greatest dreams. All episodes are available on audio and video at mikeduppodcast.com, M-I-K-E-D up podcast.com. Thank you for joining us today. Enjoy the show. Our guest today holds a LEED Green Associate designation and is on a mission to make New York City greener, more sustainable, and more affordable, one building at a time. She is the co-founder and owner of the Folson Group, the premier co-op and condo business consultant who focuses on helping her clients increase their property values. The Folson Group is a true disruptor in the residential real estate industry. Welcome to the show, Tina Larsson.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me.
It's an honor to have you here. The FolsonGroup.com, guys, you can check out her website there, and she's all over on social media. I'm going to make it clickable. I know you're on LinkedIn the most, so we'll have that clickable in the show notes. Really honored to have you on the program. Excited to learn from you because there's a lot that you're doing that I really don't completely understand. So we're going to unpeel some of those layers and dive in. Are you ready to rock and roll?
I am. Sounds good. You're not alone. A lot of people don't know.
It's exciting to have you on. You're highly successful in what you do. You're a game changer in your industry. So those are typically the people who resonate with our audience. They're doing something on a massive scale. But also you have this interesting story and how you got started. And what's really cool, and I want our audience to tune into this, is the fact that you kind of didn't intentionally get into what you're doing. Like the Folson Group, we'll talk about your company for a second here. It was really born after you helped your own building save $340,000. I remember you sharing the story with me when we first met, and it was by accident, right? So can you explain the details? Like, it's wild how this happened, but I want people to realize that sometimes you don't know your gift or your mission that you're going to be on. Sometimes it's something you may stumble into, and you just have to be aware that it's happening, and you took it and ran with it.
I took it and I ran with it.
Yeah, share the story. How did you save $340,000 for your building that you were in?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of funny. So I come from a finance background as a business analyst on Wall Street for many, many years for the purpose of investing my clients' money. So as a general analyst, I knew how to compare data in order to find the best investments. So when the maintenance increased in our co-op by 5% for the 10th year in a row, I went like, well, if they're only covering costs and there are no inflation, why is it increasing by 5% a year for so many years?
Where's that money going? Exactly. It's like tax almost.
Yeah.
How is it being spent?
And actually, when we started, we thought that there might be some irregularities, should we say. But after the fact, we didn't find any. But what I did was that I did what I knew from Wall Street, which was that I got other financial statements for other buildings so that we had something to compare to. Because, I mean, you and I don't know if $10,000 for service X is high, low, or normal.
Right. You need to compare it or to give it perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. So we built, and to this day, we have a benchmark with hundreds of line items for hundreds of buildings. And so we found the outliers, and then we made some phone calls, eliminated some services that were paid for more than once, and renegotiated some contracts, and we were able to save the building $340,000 in the first 3 years.
Yeah.
Yes. And by now, it's millions of dollars. So when I was out networking, I told, how everybody needs to find another financial advisor.
Yeah. So this was your story of this separate you from everybody who's kind of the same. You meet someone, I work for company X, this person works for company Y, they do the same thing. But here's Tina, she comes in, and we're going to talk about your backstory. You're not from here. You can hear it in your accent. So here you are like a fish out of water with this incredible story. So tell us, how did that go at the networking meetings?
Yeah. So when I showed up, instead of introducing myself as a financial advisor, I introduced myself. I'm Tina Larsson, and I helped my co-op save $340,000.
Yeah. And everybody's looking at you like, okay, tell me more.
Yes. And almost everybody said to me, "Oh, can I introduce you to my co-op board?" I went home. I said to my husband, I said, "What do you think? Do we have something here?" And the more we thought about it, we went like, yeah.
Yeah. You unlocked something that there was a door there that nobody figured out how to unlock. And there's other people doing similar things what you're doing, or maybe in different markets and things, but you kind of found this way to help people that you discovered it. It's kind of like playing in the sandbox. You built something really cool, and then that became your craft, and then that became what you started to be known for, and then you kind of grew from there. So when did you come over to the States, and what brought you here? And then how long did it take until you kind of got your feet firmly planted on the ground to do what you're doing now?
Yeah. So I moved to New York in 1994. I guess it's like I arrived like everybody else. Who doesn't want to move to New York, right?
Yeah.
So I moved to New York. I went back to school. I went to Pace University, and I started my finance career because I was 29. I felt that I was very late in my career, or late in life. So I started working on Wall Street before I even took my Finance 101 course. I had an internship during school. I took my MBA, and I started working on Wall Street. So I started working there in 1995.
Is that what you came over with, the mindset of, I want to get to New York to get to Wall Street? Or was it, I'm in New York, okay. So that was kind of a desire of yours to get into Wall Street.
Yes.
And figure that game out. So it's cool that you were able to get in there. I mean, first of all, 29 years old is not old, but I understand today everything, you have like 20-year-olds that, are really far advanced because of the information age that we're in. People can learn and grow and learn outside of the classroom faster than ever before. There's no reason to not be informed today. I mean, you're like neglecting your investment in yourself and your think if you're just not getting information today. Like, that's your choice most of the time. I mean, some people may not have, the internet or like a computer, but most people can go to the library today and get information and books and that. So it's access. It's there. So you took it, you came in, you said, I don't have the degree yet. I haven't really taken the courses yet, but you came in with the right attitude. I'm going to get in there. I'm going to figure it out, and then kind of prove yourself. The value, like two people can be going for the same job. The difference is the person, right? It's not, the tasks can be very similar, but it's the person that's going to be different. And you had that it factor. Did you feel like you were embraced right away, or was there a little bit of a barrier for people to kind of let you be yourself?
No, I felt embraced right away, but I felt very lucky. So I don't know if everybody, I had a choice between one of the big firms, and I started working with a small boutique startup. And the president of the firm, he took me under his wings right away. And he was my mentor for the first 10 years when I worked there. And he was fantastic. I feel that I was lucky, but maybe you create your own luck. Who knows, right?
I think it's a dance. Obviously, if everything is, you're trying to push through and there's a pushback, it's going to feel like you're kind of trudging through the mud. But at the same time, I do feel that you create your opportunities, your abundance, and you can manifest that with the right mindset and actions behind the mindset. Then some luck happens there, but luck doesn't typically help people who are just sitting on the couch at home doing no actions towards their dreams. Like, you're not going to knock, knock, knock. Hey, we're going to make you founder of this company that's going to make $1 million next year. Can you just sign here? Like, it's the action. It's what you did. And then share a little bit about, let's give some love to Mark as well, right? Your partner in crime. He's your husband, correct?
Yes, he is.
Yeah. So you and Mark are both doing extremely well. It's a tag team effort. Talk about, meeting him and how he got involved with the business. Was he kind of in it first and then you joined forces, or how did that work? How did it shape up?
Okay. So he and we were actually set up in 1995.
Okay.
By friends of ours.
I love it. I feel like I'm reading a romance novel. Here, Tina met Mark.
I know. And we actually met in a public pool. Yes, they do have those in New York City. But
so first time he sees you, you're in a bathing suit. That's probably... All right, Mark.
Yes. And what happened was that our friends had tried to set us up for 9 months. So Mark used to work on Wall Street, and then he took a break and he was an actor. So they said to me, oh, you have to meet this really cute guy, and he's so successful, and he used to be on Wall Street, but now he's an actor. And I'm like, yeah. And they said to him, oh, we have this Swedish girl who is just off the boat, and she's 29 years old. And instead of going to school for free in Sweden, she chose to come to the United States and pay for her own college. And he's like, I don't need to meet her. So it actually took 9 months.
He wasn't interested in that story? I think that, to me, is like, no?
No.
And you were thinking, okay, he's in Wall Street, but he's acting, so maybe something, it's like a red flag, even though you can admire someone if that was his passion. I'm not trying to shoot it down. But, you know, when you're meeting someone, you're trying to think, what is this a good thing or a bad thing? You got to kind of put it in a category. Tell us what happened next.
And I mean, it was kind of like, if I come from Sweden here, do I want to meet an actor, or do I want to meet someone who is successful and working on Wall Street? But yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe I was judging. But it took us 9 months, and then they tricked us into meeting. Yeah.
Wow. They were really adamant about making this happen.
Yeah, they were.
Now, are these friends that you're talking about someone that you still have close in your circle after all these years? No,
we don't. Yeah, no.
That's okay. I was just listening to a podcast, Tina, the other day, not to interrupt, and it was actually Grant Cardone, which I do like a lot of what he says. And some people, if you don't like him, take the good stuff, right? However you want to consume it. But he was talking about, like, it's a problem if your closest friends today, and you're 45 years old, is your 5-year-old buddy from the neighborhood. And if that's still your best friend, you can have him or her as a friend still. But if that's like your core is the same for 30, 40 years, that's a problem. So, we all graduate and we go into different friends and we keep leveling up. So that's not probably all that uncommon that you're not super close to them anymore, but they were a big part of your life, and sounds like you're very grateful for that. Obviously, you met Mark.
We are very grateful.
Yeah, you met Mark, yes, and it continued to go well, and eventually you tied the knot.
Yes.
Yeah. How did you guys end up getting into the business together? Was that moment when the $340,000 moment?
No, it actually started before then. So we were together, and my firm, after I had been working, I started as the intern, and then I kept on working with them for 10 years. And during that time, I headed a team that raised $12 billion. And so it went from this very small firm to a large firm.
Billion with a B. Incredible.
B. They had under 100 million when I started there, and I grew my little team with the president and me to 12 billion. And every year I went into the office and I said, I want to make partner. And every year they said no. And then one day they said, well, why don't you start one of the non-competing products that we don't have? And you can start your own firm. And I'm like, that sounds good. But they also told me that I had to continue to work for them, so I could do it a little side business. But they didn't have a problem with us raising money from their clients because it was a non-competing product. So I said to Mark, I said, how are we going to do this? And at the same time, apparently, or he had been talking about quitting acting and going back to Wall Street. So it turned out to be a very good opportune time. So we started this firm together, the two of us, and I took some of the employees from my old firm with me. And so we started our own investment firm in 2007.
Ooh, right before the whole crash. Like 6 months before. So how did that happen, though? I want to hear the story.
We raised 50 million we started it in the summer, so we raised 50 million in the first year, and that went very well. 2008 was not a very good year.
It was what? The Lehman's crash, it's called, right?
Yeah, and we had $25 million lined up to start a hedge fund during the month of Madoff, so that didn't happen. So it was not a very opportune time.
But you're still here to talk about it. Some people got knocked out like a Tyson punch, and you're still here to talk about it. So yeah, we're in this process right now as we record this. For anyone putting this conversation on timeline, it's being recorded in May of 2022. So we're still at call it the tail end of the pandemic. We had, obviously this huge, the pandemic has been devastating in many ways for health and financial. But in '07, it was strictly financial in the situation that Tina's telling us about. So, and a lot of people didn't come out of it. They had to kind of reinvent themselves. Some people did over a long period of time. How were you guys able to navigate through it? Was it you had to get a little bit more resourceful, and how did you do that?
Yes. And 2009, we had a really good year. So our recovery was very good. But then in 2010, we read a report where Barclays, they said that they thought that 75%, I believe, of all financial advisors would be taken over by robots or robot trading. And I think that if I'm not misremembering, in 10 years, so in 2020. So we started thinking about what can we do to do something else. We loved what we did, so it's not like, but we were trying to come up with an alternative. We tried to look at robot trading, how would that apply to our clients, how to attract new clients. So we were toying with all of this at the same time as this opportunity came along. So it was just perfect timing. So we started in 2014.
Yeah, so you made that pivot. Guys listening in right now, like a lot of times when it feels like things are being taken away from us, what it actually is in the big picture, if you stick with it, you stick to your guns, but you also are open to new opportunities. I've just experienced this in my business. Sometimes it's clients where you think, I hate to see someone go, but maybe they're not fitting the right client avatar. So as much as it's okay that they go because you can fill it with someone that's going to be new energy and lifeblood into your clients and your prospects, you hate to see it go. But sometimes that happens where an opportunity comes, it's creating space for it. I believe that God and the universe, they do that. When you're tuned in, doing the right thing and serving for the right reasons, these new opportunities come in and push some of that other stuff away. And if you weren't maybe in your trade at the moment, you shifted into this new trade that became game-changing for you. Another thing that happened too, and this is top of mind for us because April 22nd is Earth Day, and we just experienced that a couple weeks ago. I know you're a big advocate for protecting our planet and our environment. So Earth Day just happened, but you had something, I saw this on your website, I believe, that every day can be Earth Day, right? We should treat it the same. We don't just circle a day on the calendar and we're mindful of, for one day we're going to recycle. It doesn't work like that. It's an everyday consistent thing. So talk about your passion. When did that start? And how are you an advocate for the earth and the environment?
Well, on so many different levels. And I grew up in of course, when you're little, you don't really think about it. It's just stuff that you do. So I grew up on a farm. We had very limited means, and we just consumed things. We didn't throw anything out. We made sure that we never threw out any food, and we made sure that we used everything up and recycled. In Sweden, when I grew up, so in the 70s, let's say, we recycled. And then I moved here in 1994, and nobody recycled anything.
Yeah, we were behind, interestingly enough. Yeah. Normally we're ahead a decade when you come over from other countries, but not always. It depends on what it is that we're talking about.
Yeah. So I've always been an advocate of that. And the more I think about it, so first in our building, one of the first items that we did to conserve electricity was to install LED lights in the hallways, in the stairwells, and in the entire basement space. And we put them on LED with motion sensors. And the more I think about this, when I grew up, so in the buildings that were built in the 50s, 60s, and 70s in Sweden, when you walked up the stairs in a walk-up in an apartment building, you actually had to press a button for the light to come on each floor. And then were kind of like in a hurry to make it to the next button.
Yeah, like a 60-second timer or something like that?
Yeah.
I kind of remember those.
And I think that it was less than 60 seconds.
Yeah, in and out.
Have you ever seen those here?
I've seen the timer lights. Yeah, I've seen those. I don't know if it was in school or where I've seen them, but I've seen them. We don't really use them on the regular, but I know that technology existed, or still exists. But I like the idea of motion. Motion actually makes the most sense because then, I mean, we're in such a convenience-focused lifestyle that, if you open the door to your basement and took one step down, that the light turns on, that's great. Now, it's a little freaky if you open the door and the light's already on, then you wonder what's crawling around downstairs. It's at the... maybe you watched a scary movie the night before and you're thinking that there's an alien in your basement or something. Sorry. Side note, tangent.
But the sensor technology has improved so much. When I open my door to the hallway on my floor, I actually have to stand back, open the door, and wait for it to go out to see that it's working. Because as soon as I open the door, it's already lit, and I can't tell that it just turned on.
It's just so instantaneous. Yeah, that's beautiful, useful, energy-conserving technology. I mean, it's a simple concept, but it makes so much sense that it's only literally, imagine if everything was like that. We only use it for when it's needed. It could be like water. Water is the same thing. Like how many times if you're washing the dishes, you kind of let it run while you're like doing something else and you're feeling like, imagine if it only worked. And I know there's just sinks like that where you put your hands under it and it only works while the hand is, but you don't see that. I guess that's in some kitchens now and it's becoming a thing, but I think that's really cool. So you were already thinking about this and put it in your, at that time, apartment.
Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I've tried to become more environmentally conscious. And a few years ago, I took my lead green associate credentials. Now we're consulting buildings. A lot of the consulting that we do has nothing to do with green, but a very big portion of their costs are related to.
Yeah, that's another thing. People get their antennas go up when you're talking about saving money, but also it's saving the environment too. The term for it's renewable energy, right? So I want you to explain how people can think about creating more renewable energy. And then the part 2 to that is if you can give us like a 100 level breakdown to Climate Mobilization Act. I know that's something that you're well adapt and understand at a higher level, but can you explain what that is?
So the Climate Mobilization Act of 2019 is for New York City, so not New York State. And part of it is something called Local Law 97. As part of Local Law 97, buildings in New York City will be fined starting in 2024. Then those fines will increase in 2030. And the entire goal behind this is to make New York City carbon neutral by 2050. In 2024, only 20% of the buildings, as we see it, we have the data, and about 20% will be fined if they do nothing and if the law doesn't change.
What kind of things so if construction's happening, building new buildings, whether it's residential or commercial, what are some of the differences that are going into the new builds to make sure that they're following this footprint?
Yeah, so first, we only work with old buildings. We don't work with new builds. But new builds, they're going to have...
So you convert them? You convert some of the old technology and infrastructure into new?
So we work with old buildings because they're the ones who need our help. Brand new buildings, They don't really need our help because they have brand new windows and brand new...
Yeah, they're made up to new codes. Yeah.
Yeah. And right now, all new roofs need to have a green roof. I don't have the number, but it would not surprise me if it's 99% of roofs, they're tar roofs, and they have nothing green on their roofs. So the old buildings are what we work with, and they're the ones who really need our help. They heat their building with either natural gas, steam, or oil. They can't continue to use that because they need to be fossil fuel neutral. They need to get rid of their fossil fuel.
It's a focus more on electric as well, opposed to...
Mm-hmm. Now, the irony behind closing the Indian Point is that electricity in New York City uses more fossil fuel this year than they did a year ago, only because they closed the nuclear power plant.
Mm-hmm. So solar is a big part of the change as well.
Yes. But I mean, how many buildings in New York City can you install solar? So there's a 20-something story building that has 200 units. There's no way that the roof holds enough solar panels
Wouldn't
to provide
support the infrastructure for the building. I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least the technology doesn't quite exist yet, but who knows? I mean, 50 years ago, a computer was the size of a gymnasium, and today it fits in our pocket. So at some point, maybe a roof will have enough for all 200 units, but today you need more space to put those kind of units in. Really cool. Is there anything else you want to share about renewable energy that we didn't touch on?
Yeah, but I mean, we do have roofs in lower buildings, so 4 stories, 6 stories, and in those cases, their roof is much larger in comparison to how much electricity they use. And those areas, it's a great place to put solar if the roof holds it.
Yeah, right. But that's cool. So you're coming in and really changing the game in so many different ways, helping with financial saving, help with saving energy and conserving. And I can see it. It's in your body language. It's a passion of yours. It's not just something you talk about. It's what you guys are focused on. Obviously, it's serving you extremely well. You continue to grow your business. We're going to learn a little bit more about you. We're going to take a quick time out. We are definitely late to the break, but I was really enjoying learning a lot from you. A lot of notes coming from this. So we're going to take a quick time out to give some love to our sponsors. We'll be right back with Tina. Hey guys, it's Mike. I'd like to give a proper shout out to Navigator Bookkeeping. Look, for a long time, I ran my business without really understanding the full financial picture. I used my gut and my bank account balance to make decisions, which led to some poor choices and constant stress over my business's finances. I knew something needed to change. At the beginning of 2021, I made a decision that helped pave a more clear path for my business. I started working with Navigator Bookkeeping. Since then, my bookkeeping has been handled for me. I now understand the full financial story of my business, making important financial decisions much easier now, and it helps me plan for where my business is going. I highly recommend giving Navigator Bookkeeping an opportunity to help your business. Check them out at navigatingyourbooks.com. Again, that's navigatingyourbooks.com. It's time to know the full financial story of your business. Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you, and that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight, and Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting, so what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today. All right, guys, we're back in action with Tina Larsson. You guys can connect with her on social media. All of those links are clickable in the show notes, making it always super easy to connect. We're going to dive right back into the conversation with Tina. Let's dive a little further, actually. Go into your story. You talked about getting into Wall Street. What about your love for real estate? Was that at the same time, or was that something you kind of grew up and really loved real estate?
No, I didn't. So we were both working on Wall Street and we were renting an apartment, and we decided this is a good opportune time to
You're
buy.
in a great spot for it. I mean, there's a lot of interesting real estate in New York City too.
Yeah. So we bought our apartment in 2004. So we've been here since 2004. So
talk to our audience that's tuning in right now. Maybe they have a condo or a co-op and they're looking to increase its value. What are 3 specific things that they can do right away to increase the value?
Well, number 1, you have to volunteer to your board.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you're in a co-op or condo, a large apartment building and own, then the easiest way to increase your property value is to take an interest and make a difference. And the only way to do that is by volunteering to the board. Once you're on the board, and don't run as one person because then you're never going to get anything done. Run as a group is my suggestion, so that you have majority and can get stuff done. Number 2 is that you can look for things that are not ideal. So one of the things is if you go down to the basement, take the elevator down to the basement, and if in the basement the lights are on 24/7, that is not ideal, because basements are typically occupied 10% of the time. There's no reason for the lights to be on 100% of the time. I mean, you can save the electricity for that space by 90%.
Yeah, a lot of times you walk into like an apartment building and the light's just on into the unit that does like the laundry unit. It's on. There's nobody in there.
Yeah. And there's corridors in the basement, and there's storage rooms, and there's laundry rooms, as you said. So, I mean, there's no...
You know what? I'm thinking now, I did live in an apartment one time that did have that part of the building, did have the timer. That's where that timer, that is where I experienced it. Was probably, I'm guessing that apartment I was in, it was like a 12 unit. I think it was probably built in the 50s or 60s would be my guess. So that was probably, I don't know if it was new or what, maybe the 70s. But yeah, I definitely experienced that. So you're coming in, you're saying, let's identify problem areas that we can make an immediate impact.
Yes.
Like right out of the gate. Yeah. Cool.
Another way to, the third thing is that if you go up to the roof, if that space is not used, if that's a tar roof, this is valuable property, valuable space. It's in New York City. It should not be empty. If it is, they could be more proactive. The board could be more proactive, and they could actually use that space.
Use it for solar or use it for like a patio?
Patio or solar. And whether it's used as a patio or solar, either you produce more electricity, which reduces your expenses, or if it's a patio or a terrace, then you're creating amenity space, which increases property values. So you have this brand new building down the street with swimming pools and a gorgeous roof deck, and then the building next door has a tar roof. I mean, that's not, how can you compete?
Well, and they can actually make more money because they could charge more for the pool, for the, hey, this has a loft, that kind of thing. But from a renewable energy standpoint, it's not really utilizing it in a green way, correct? If they're doing a swimming pool, that's not really green.
No.
So speak to that, but also I'm picturing New York City, and I'm picturing a lot of the buildings as having, the glass structures and everything where it's a lot of natural light.
Yeah.
I'm guessing a lot of new builds, and I know you're not necessarily in the new build market, but there's just a great opportunity for natural light in that situation, right?
Yes. But I can't, whenever I talk about motion sensors, the people who like birds, they always tell me that it's no good because it makes birds fly into buildings. So I stay out of that.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
And there's always downsides to everything, We normally put the motion sensors inside a building, not inside the apartment.
Yeah, understandable. Yeah, there's pros and cons. You weigh all those things, but the first thing you need is the information to understand what you're there to solve, and you're doing that. Educating in such a great way. What I'd like you to do, since you started this really from the ground floor up, no pun intended, talking real estate, but you started your career, you had the Wall Street moment, you had to transition into what you're doing now, really focusing on kind of the renewable energy space as well, finding holes in a situation to save people money, the co-op, condos. So you've done it. You've really created something, I don't want to say from nothing, but really from the ground up. So our audience is very much entrepreneurial, right? Whether they're currently working corporate and they're looking to kind of go and get out into start their own business. Maybe they're on the fence, or they're already in entrepreneurship and they're looking for the reach up. What's the next thing they're going to grow into? And it's kind of that mastermind group of getting around great people, great thinkers. That's why I have people like yourself on, because you fit that description, and you're going to be able to help people reach up into what they're doing. So talk to the person right now that's on the fence and they need something that's going to help them. Maybe you can encourage them to push forward through it. What would you tell them?
Do it. That was 2 words.
The old Nike saying, just do it.
Yes.
No, that's so true, though. You have to figure, there is no game plan if you don't get started.
But There are lots of things that you can do to prepare, and there are lots of things that I wish that I did to prepare better. You know what they say, your net worth is only as strong as your network. And I wish that I had done more networking early on. I didn't do any networking until 2010 maybe. And they never taught us that in school. I don't know.
It is something that you kind of figure out as you go, like, hey, I need to talk, like, people are the lifeblood of business. You know, I need to get around more people and the right people too, because you can network all day long, but if it's not the right groups of people.
And as you said, you mentioned Cardone. One of the things that he says is to be omnipresent, to be everywhere, to be involved in everything and anything.
Attention. Do I have your attention? Exactly.
Yeah. Be involved in the neighborhood, in the community, in all of these organizations, to be everywhere and meet a lot of people and build a lot of relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great advice, guys. Go back and check that again. And she's got even more.
Yes, I do. So networking is one thing. Don't underestimate the power of LinkedIn networking. I mean, LinkedIn is a very powerful place. And I learned that 2 years ago.
Don't post and ghost. Actually be a communicator and a relator and a connector. It's like I always have to remind myself, and I tell people this all the time, be social on social media. Like use it as a community, not, don't just have a membership to the gym. You got to show up and engage and be active.
But Mike, didn't you? So I always thought that LinkedIn was, yes, considered social media, but it was a place to basically put my resume, my accomplishments.
Yeah, that's kind of how it started, but it's totally way more intricate now.
Yes.
It's not the right word, but it's so much more immersed into bringing people to, connecting and working together. It's not just this is my job. I know what you're saying. When it certainly started, it felt like that. I'd say I got on there probably in 2011, and that's really what I used it. And I got a lot of people recruiting me through it. But now it's like, yeah, you can certainly use it to help you get a job or find people to hire within your organization. Absolute beautiful place. But it's also a great place to meet other like-minded individuals for a reach up. And that's actually how I believe we met through Luke, who's a mutual connection. And I think we got connected originally on LinkedIn.
I think so too. Yes.
Yeah.
Prior to 2 years ago, I didn't really know what to post. So in March of 2020, the first thing when they told everybody to stay at home, the first thing that I did was hire a business coach. I'd been talking about it for a long time. And that's when I said, you know what, I need to do this. So I hired her. And the first thing that she said was, you need to be more active on LinkedIn. I said, how do I do that? She said, find a LinkedIn coach.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's good insight. Like, find an expert in the space, not just somebody. Like, that's good that they identified it, but she didn't say, I'm going to be your LinkedIn coach.
No.
She said, find a LinkedIn coach.
Yeah. So I joined Joe Apfelbaum's LinkedIn coaching program approximately 2 years ago now. And then the first thing he said was that you need to be on podcasts and video. And I said, how do I do that? He said, hire an improv coach. So now I work with an improv coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you already have a great personality, but then, yeah, being comfortable on the microphone, being comfortable on camera is a different story too. Now, did Mark help you at all with that, since he's an actor, kind of just being comfortable in front of people? Is that something?
He has tried many, many times, and he's very supportive, but he's tried. But, it's like the husband and wife, where one is a personal trainer and the other one is that doesn't really work so well. So he's
it's
tried.
good to get an outside resource to help out. So you're not, if Mark says something that maybe you don't agree with, it's not now impacting your relationship at all.
And I mean, he is 100%, 120% or 200% supportive. But I think it's more on me that it doesn't work out.
No, I think that's great. Like, I can tell you guys have a special thing. I did not have really the opportunity to meet Mark yet, but every time we talk about him, and you told me a little bit about him on our initial call we had together, it's encouraging to those single people like myself. It's like, hey, you never know when you're going to meet someone, whether it's at the pool, whether it's a 9-month setup situation and you're just avoiding it for some reason and it was destined to happen. I think that's a really cool and encouraging story to remember and to realize. So is there anything we didn't hit on yet while we have a couple minutes that you say, we got to get that out? Let's get that on the podcast.
What do we have to
Anything
get out
that you
here?
really want to deliver?
Yes, there's no reason to overpay for the same services. There's no reason to waste energy or to use too much fossil fuel that you don't have to use. So give us a call. We have on our website, we have some free tools that you can get straight to your inbox. They're under the free tools tab.
And that's at thefolsongroup.com. Again, the FOLSON group.com, right?
That's correct. And always give us a call. I mean, I love to hear what co-op and condo boards are up to, and I love to hear what co-op and condo owners, what their experience with their boards are.
A lot of great wisdom here. Like you just keep dropping more and more and more. We can talk for another hour or two, and I'm sure you're going to have 12 more golden nuggets that we can talk about and unhash. So I'd love to keep this conversation going. With the last minute, what I'm going to do is kind of set you up here in kind of a hypothetical situation. But what it's going to do is allow you to think about this and also allow us to understand what your bigger picture is too, because we didn't really talk about what's next for you. So if you can imagine yourself as the author and protagonist in your own life story and you get to write the ending and God willing, you continue to live a long, prosperous life, you look back on it at the end and you go, man, I get to define my legacy and it is this.
Then it is that I succeeded in making every single apartment owner in New York City live in a greener, more sustainable, and more affordable apartment.
Bam! There it is. Look at it. Do you think she had that mapped out? No. Hey, I'll tell you what. You give me two people. One person has a roadmap. The other person is kind of understands loosely what they're looking to do and give them 24 hours to achieve something. Who's going to be further ahead? It's the person with the roadmap. And the fact that you can articulate that answer already means you're thinking about it. You have the roadmap. You're manifesting it. You're making it happen. You've been here for, what is it now, a few decades that you've been obviously here in the States, and you've made use of, it seems like, every moment of it. And then when things in 2007 went backwards, sideways, and upside down, that didn't stop you. It took a few years. 2014, you finally said, okay, here's the new direction. Took a couple of years, but you didn't waste any time. And what I can tell from you, Tina, is that anytime a situation maybe didn't go perfectly, it's information that you now have in your arsenal that you can better make decisions going forward. And it's incredible that you keep, it's like a shapeshifter. What I love about you and the primary reason that I had you on the show today is you're serving. You're helping others, like you said, live a greener, more sustainable, renewable life for the planet. And obviously you're bettering not only people, you're bettering this planet, beautiful planet that we're grateful to have. So any last words you'd like to say before heading out?
Thank you so much for having me, Mike. This was a great
welcome.
Conversation. Hey, really appreciate it.
I really agree. It was a little different than the usual show. And so there's a lot of new information on here. So I'm excited to share this out with my network. I know you'll do the same. And there's going to be a lot of people that can benefit from your story. And it starts with me. I know I'm your first audience member today. Thank you so much for your time being here.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to give a huge shout out to everyone for tuning in, especially those who listen all the way to the end to hear this message. Seriously, I appreciate you, and my guests do as well. Giving a quick reminder to subscribe to this show. It's completely free and will allow you to receive notifications when new episodes are released. If you'd like to provide a tip as a gift, you can do so via patreon.com/micedup. It's spelled MIKED up. Patreon.com/micedup. You can give as little as $1 per month or as much as you'd like. Every dollar is greatly appreciated and completely unexpected. Appreciate your reviews and your messages coming in on social as well. Keep them coming. Your feedback is valuable and absolutely means the world to me. You can check out more episodes and content at mikeduppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You can also follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active, and it's at Mike DiCiocio, MikeDiCioccio. Thank you so much for your continued support. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.